Sophia, make sure we record this so we know what's
Yeah,
going
I just started recording it.
Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum. I'm going to get started. My name is Sabina Abdul Qadir. I am on the board of trustees of the Council of Islamic Organizations of Greater Chicago, and CADC for short. We want to thank you for coming on and being interested in part of this Social Justice Service Challenge. We will talk a lot about the ideas and maybe a little bit about the criteria. Please feel free to ask us questions. There's a Q&A session. We'll sort of unmute you at different points in time, one sort of in the middle, and then again towards the end, and then you will get a chance to ask us questions, and hopefully we will be able to answer everything that you may and clarify things that you have questions about. I have two interns who will be leading this challenge presentation with me. The first one is Alicia Siani, and the other one is Sufyan Beg. They're both, inshallah, going to start soon. And then again, thank you for joining us, and we'll get started.
Okay, so to start off, we're going to watch this video to find out why CIOGC is hosting this challenge.
The world is a troubling place right now, and many of us feel powerless to combat the injustices committed both around the world and within our own communities. However, that is far from true. Thousands of years ago, during a time of injustice and strife, the emergence of Islam brought light to a world mired in ignorance. As the Prophet ﷺ said, "Whosoever of you sees an evil action, let him change it with his hand, and if he is not able to do so, then with his tongue, and if he is not able to do so, then with his heart, and that is the weakest of faith." Thus, it's the responsibility of us Muslims as an ummah to create change when we see injustice in the world. In this spirit, CIOGC is kicking off the Service Challenge, where you work with your masjid's community to design a social justice service project to address the needs of the Chicagoland area. All you need is an idea, an initiative to make change in your community. And CIOGC will grant you $1,000 to make your idea a reality. Your project can address any social issue, from economic and racial injustice to food and health issues, bullying and religious prejudice. Show us the impact you have as a masjid. Get creative. The winners of the project will be rewarded with a grand cash prize of $5,000 from Zakat Chicago, a feature in CIOGC's newsletter with over 10,000 subscribers, and the bragging rights and accomplishment of being the winner of the CIOGC Service Challenge. So get up and get excited. If you're ready for change, go to ciogc.org.
So as mentioned in the video, the CIOGC Social Justice Service Challenge is an opportunity for masjids to design and implement their own social justice project. So once you register, we will give you a $1,000 grant, and you will have to use the grant towards your project. At the end of the challenge, the grand prize winner will be rewarded $5,000 based on a voting process and CIOGC criteria. The winning masjid must use the cash prize towards their social justice initiative.
This challenge revolves around you, the masjids, working to combat social injustices. Social justice is the equal access to wealth, opportunities, and privileges amongst all members within a society. This term is very broad, and that's exactly what we're aiming for. The number of topics you and your masjid can choose to pursue in your project is nearly limitless, and we encourage you to be creative with your project. You can choose to focus on one topic or even multiple topics in your social justice project. Specifically, this is meant to help your masjid combat any social injustices you witness within your own community. A social injustice is anything that violates social justice through unequal treatments of members within a society or community. The scale of the project is completely up to you. You can be as creative as you want with any topic you choose. Show us the impact you have as a masjid. Some topics you could choose to pursue can fall under the following categories: economic and racial injustice, food and health inequalities, bullying and religious prejudice, and climate change. The topic does not have to necessarily fall under these categories. We are just providing them as some examples and ideas for you and your masjid to pursue. To give you an idea of what your project could look like, we outlined some general ideas for each category. So for economic and racial injustice, you could, for example, do something related to Black Lives Matter, Muslims in Palestine, awareness of Muslim minorities, and zakat and sadaqah to the needy. For food and health inequalities, you could set up a food pantry with a local food bank, and you could help set up a health checkup or clinic for people in your community. For bullying and religious prejudice, you can raise awareness for anti-bullying measures. You could collaborate with other faiths, such as your local church, or you could even combat common Muslim stereotypes. For climate change, you can start utilizing eco-friendly equipment in your masjids using the money that we give you. You can work on water sustainability or even recycling. So now we'll stop for a Q&A. If anybody has any questions at this point.
So I'm going to take a little time to explain a little bit more. So this is the way this project came about is the idea behind it is to motivate and kickstart social justice projects within all our communities in the Chicagoland area. So we use the masjid as the baseline because that's where most of our congregation comes in, where the Muslims come in and meet as a community and decide what they want to do. So with this in mind, we said, hey, choose. And it so happened that the world right now, we're seeing a lot of stuff that is happening with racial injustice. So yes, if you want to do something like that, it can be very creative. We saw that ICW is doing something of an art installation, which we think is a fantastic out of the box thinking idea. So it doesn't have to fall within any particular framework. You just need to let us know, like, hey, if you have any questions, let us know, hey, does this seem to fit into what we want or what we're thinking of doing? And usually the answer is going to be yes, because we want you to combat a social injustice. And we didn't say one thing or the other. We've given you a certain broad categories. So please look into those and let us know. Do you want to unmute and maybe see if anyone has questions at this point?
Yeah, if you have a question, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to raise your hand. If you click that button, I can unmute you and I can let you ask your question. Okay. Munib, you should be able to.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Justical. One question that I had was about the continuation of the project and the scale of the grant versus the scale of the project. What I'm trying to say is, like, for our project, for example, obviously we're trying to do a very good job, and if we do get the $5,000 grant at the end, where, like, is it feasible for us to, like, have this project extended for many months? Because when I think about the art installation that ICW is doing, I don't know how we can, like, upscale it so quickly. Does that make sense?
Right. So what we want to do is with this $1,000 is just a kickstart, right? So you can get started. So the idea is within the month of July, once you get that $1,000 grant, you're kickstarting a certain aspect of your project. You can have like a year-long or multi-pronged effect that you want to be able to tackle. And you may want to just choose one of those aspects that you will get started in the month of July and sort of accomplish to a certain degree and finish up, and then you can present to the community for a vote. But once you get that $5,000, that money should be applied to your initiative, and you can use it to expand your project or enhance it in any way. So it can, like, if you have, let's say, a social justice committee and you want to bring in like a three-prong of it, whether it's awareness, advocacy, service, if those are your three prongs, maybe you just choose one of those prongs that will work into with the $1,000, and then when you win the $5,000, you can have more, like you can expand it even further. So is that sort of, when you answer your question?
That does, thank you.
Okay, I see a couple more. Could you say the topics again? Would maybe an e-drive fit into one of those categories? So you want to, like, the topics are right here up on the screen. And then do you want to ask me, so at e-drive, as long as it's completed before the 1st of August, and you have a video that you're ready to submit to us by the 1st of August, we will accept that. We want you to just take a step back. Not that we're stopping anything. We want you to take a step back. We recognize in our communities there's always a need. what we want to say is, hey, take a step back and look at what injustice caused that need to happen in the first place. So maybe try putting some of your resources in tackling that need. And then we have, Sarwat Ahmed asking us, can the grant be used towards donations? What does that mean? Can you open up Sarwat's thing?
What's his name?
Sarwat Ahmed, Sarwatahmad.
Yeah, you should be able to unmute now if you want to.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum. This is Sarvat. So the idea that we have for our group at Al-Aqsa Masjid in Plainfield is it has two aspects. One is awareness, kind of educating our youth. Our youth will be, this will be specifically geared towards our youth, with some of our adults helping, leading them. So having kind of an educational aspect of it in terms of systemic discrimination, what inequity means in terms of, in respect to the difference between equality and equity. And then the service that we were thinking of is doing helping homeless shelters and food drives. So I spoke to a homeless shelter today, and she also told me about food trucks that they have, especially during the pandemic. There were a lot of families that were in need, a lot of food insecure families. And one area was also undocumented immigrants who are afraid to come out. So they have these specifically for them. They don't open it up for anyone else, so they can come out and get food. But to sponsor them, there's specific dates, and we would not be able to sponsor a truck until like August 18th and 19th. So would that still fit in the timeline? And can the $1,000 be used? One, we'll probably use it for some type of facilitator to help facilitate the talks on, racial injustice, systemic and, discrimination and all of that. But the remainder of it, would we be able to put it towards donations, whether it's buying, something for the homeless shelter or towards sponsoring the food truck?
So as long as you use that set of $1,000 within the 1 month timeline we've given you, that's what we'd like to see. So I know you said the 18th and stuff, so that's after the cutoff. So you won't be able to use that money. I mean, we wanted to, if it was like maybe a very small portion of it, that would have been fine. But honestly, it would be more so if you could use the money more within that 1 month time frame.
So what we would be actually doing is also, the $1,000 would only go towards a donation. We would actually need to raise funds, and we could have those funds raised by August 1st, and then just have them ready to give on the 18th. I think it's $1,200 per truck, something like that. So would that be something that that would fit in?
Yeah, that could fit in, because we do want you, in the end, when you do your final project, we want you to talk about how you're going to enhance it and expand it, and what would you do with the extra $5,000. So yeah, so if you kind of complete that and say, hey, we're using it, some of this money to raise more funds to do this food drive after the project is over, that should be acceptable. That shouldn't be a problem.
So in that vein, how else would we be able to use parts of that grant in terms of donating? I mean, right now we could just put a call out on WhatsApp to our masajid and probably come up with that money in like a couple of days. So what other way would be able to incorporate the rest of that grant that we won't use for educational purposes?
I mean, that's where you need to be creative and figure out how your masjid wants to best use that. What do you want to commit to as a masjid? Something that's sustainable, something your community would respond to, something maybe you could work with another community-based organization, or I know you're doing it with a homeless shelter and stuff like that, maybe another one to reach out to, whether it's advocacy or something like that, something a little bit more, that would be more on your end, how you would want to do that.
Okay, so we have to figure that out then. Okay.
Okay. There's another one that says, is this only for masjids, or can university clubs and such as Muslim Students Association be a part of this? Stay tuned. We have started this with the masjid just as our initial kickoff. We want to see the response, but we have received so many requests from MSAs that all I can say right now is stay tuned. Something soon is coming up. If you are a part of a masjid, could you just quickly, is there a way for them to send a private message to us, letting us know who you are, so that we can contact you when something is happening for like university clubs or MSAs?
On the Zoom call?
Yeah, on the Zoom call. If you could just put it in the chat, your email and your name, we'll make sure to contact you when something like that is, when we initiate that. And it's stay tuned, it's soon to come.
If you go to the chat, you can choose to send your message to only the panelists. So click that option and you can send us your information. We can keep you updated. Are there any other questions? Or should we go on?
There's one more.
Okay.
It says 1,000 is given in July and should be used in July for the project, right? Then one masjid gets 5,000 in August, right? Yes. So that's how it is. So the initial grant of the 1,000 is open to every masajid that applies and does the 30-second video. And that amount we expect in general to be used in during the month of July. And to a great degree, you can, I mean, there can be some things that you say, hey, you know, this is going to happen a little bit later, but the majority of the amount of money we do want you to use that $1,000 grant. It has a time-based limitation to it, so it should be used in the month of July. And then based on what you send us in terms of videos and how the community votes and the CIGC criteria, one of the masjids will be awarded a 5,000 grand prize. We have, alhamdulillah, received so much feedback and support with this project. We may be able to grant even a second or third place prize or another equivalent prize. We have to figure that out once we get the admissions and see what our individual donors want to support. Okay. All right. I think we can continue if that's.
Okay.
There's one more question.
Okay,
in
is there,
the chat.
yeah.
So someone's asking, would the $1,000 grant be granted to any masjid who would participate in a social project?
Yes. Yes, you do not have to be a member of CIGC. Yes.
If that's all the questions, we'll have another Q&A at the end of the presentation. So send any questions you have in the Q&A chat and we'll look at them at the end.
So now you may be wondering, what does my masjid have to do? So in exactly a week, your proposal and registration will be due. So for the proposal, all you need is your contact information, an idea for your project, and a 30-second video explaining what you are hoping to do. So in the middle graphic, you will see a script that all participants have to use in their proposal video. And all of this information is available on this presentation, our website, and the flyers for the challenge. So you will always have access to this information, and if you don't, you can always reach out to us at contest@ciogc.org. So once you upload your proposal and submit your registration, you'll receive the $1,000 grant in the mail, and you will be able to start the project.
I want to add something to this. When you are giving us our 30-second proposal, we want a general, you don't have to give us a detailed outline. It could be somewhat of a general category. We want to combat racial injustice through one aspect. You don't really have to flesh out your entire program at this time.
And we have an example video from ICW who already submitted their registration. So we'll take a look at this.
The Islamic Center, Wheaton, accepts the CIOGC Service Challenge.
Thank you, CIOGC, for the $1,000 grant.
With the money, we want to begin a call for justice-inspired art from our local community.
We chose this project in particular because all of us have experienced some sort of discrimination, and we want to offer an avenue of healing for our community.
And finally, we challenge Islamic Foundation to accept the Service Challenge. Thank you.
This is just the perfect demonstration of how the video should be. It doesn't need to be complicated. It's simple, it's straightforward, and that's all we need from you is something, and it doesn't need to be very elaborate. It's an iPhone camera. I think it's a simple camera that they're using to videotape themselves. So it's a very simple, and this is all they need to get the 30-second, this is the 30-second video that they need to submit to get the $1,000 grant. And we've had one that just got submitted just recently and we weren't able to use that, but it's just somebody sitting at their desk and saying, hey, thank you for the $1,000. We're going to use this money for something else. They're working with a community-based organization and they're letting us know. That's it. All right, go ahead.
So now we're going to walk you through to how you'll be able to register. After the presentation's done, we'll send you guys the PowerPoint. So over here, you'll click this link below and it'll send you to this page over here. So click on this page and you'll be sent to our registration page for the challenge. After we confirm your registration, we'll provide you and your masjid with $1,000 so you can begin work on your social justice project. So registering is very easy. You simply have to enter in all your information in these categories you see here. For the masjid contact name, just include the information of someone from your organization that you feel will best be able to communicate with CIOGC. And this person can be the same as the service project coordinator, but however, that's not necessary if you want somebody else to take the lead on the project.
So we do need the masjid to approve of your project. So we do want a board member. So there's sometimes the imam is also the one that's coordinating the project, and that's perfectly fine. But we do, if you're not like on the board or someone that is like an imam or something like that, we do need you to let us know who to contact so we can go back to the masjid and say, hey, did you approve this project? And here's the check, because the check is going to the masjid, and we just want to make sure that they've approved the project that you have submitted.
Yep. After you fill out all your information, all you have to do is you have to press the choose file button and then submit your video from your computer. We can help you upload the video if you're having difficulty submitting. Just reach out to us at contest@ciogc.org for any questions that you may have. Finally, you can choose to grant CIOGC permission to use the video you submit in promotional material. And then after you finish, click send so you and your masjid can receive the $1,000 grant.
And this is all on the CIGC website. So if you hit CIGC.org, you'll be able to see it on the main page as well as on the landing page. So on the main page, there's a banner. You can click on the banner and it'll take you to the landing page for the grant. But if you go on this link by itself, it'll take you straight to the landing page.
Mm-hmm. For the first week of now we're going to walk you through how the actual challenge will be run. So for the first week of the challenge, we simply want you and your masjid to send us a picture of your planning meeting with a fun little caption. Due to the pandemic, the meeting can take place over Zoom, and you can simply send us a screenshot of your Zoom meeting. For each week, we have a question of the week to help you guys guide your project. For week one, the question of the week is, what initiative did you choose and why? For this week, this is what we want your meeting to focus on. We want to see you and your masjid decide on the general topics you choose to pursue for your project. This can be anything from the topics we discussed earlier, or it can be anything you can think of related to social justice in your community. Here's an example of what your week one submission may look like. As you can see, it's really simple. You just have to send us a screenshot of the people you're working with in your masjid community and provide us with a small caption like we did in the PowerPoint here. For the second week of the challenge, we just want to see how you and your masjid will be setting up your project. The question of the week is, what impact do you hope to achieve with your project? This is what your video should be centered around. Simply record a video up to 1 minute long horizontally and show us what you hope to accomplish. So we laid out some examples for what you could do during this week. You could pick a member of your community to talk about your project and record their reaction. You could talk about what you hope to achieve with the project. You can also talk about future goals after the project is complete. The possibilities are basically limitless for this part of the project. Just show CIOGC what you and your masjid want to do to make a difference, and keep your video under 1 minute long. For the third week, part of the challenge involves getting the word out and involving your community, and this is what the week 3 entails. So the question of the week is, how can the community help your masjid to combat the injustice you've highlighted? So the easiest way to accomplish this would be through sharing what you're doing on your social media page and getting various community influencers involved to help you out and promote your project. If your masjid does not currently have a social media account, the CIOGC will help you set one up to share your progress with your community. When you're making your posts, make sure to tag us at our following social media and include the following hashtags: #AllinCIOGC and #CIOGC Service Challenge when you're making your post.
So one of the things I do want to tell you, this is sort of important because you want to drive your community to go vote for you come your final submission. So after the week 4, when you have your final submission, you want to get your community already like aware and motivated to go vote for you. We're going to start, we ourselves are going to start promoting like different masjids and maybe do mashups of different masjids saying, hey, you know, get ready. These are the ideas. This is what's coming forward. So we will be sharing or what you've done, what you've shared on social media. And I know like ICW shared the video before we even shared it, and that's fine. We don't have a problem. Typically, we'd like to be the first ones to do it, and then you can do it. So by the 3rd week, we're hoping that we cover every masjid that's been registered and has submitted a what is it, a grant application and saying that, hey, we want to do a project. So by week 3, it's open for every masjid to start like encouraging their community to go vote for them and look at the projects and what's going on. Go ahead.
So this is a sample Instagram post for a masjid that is doing a food drive. As you can see, it's very creative, it's very colorful, and it's eye-catching. So when you advertise your project, you must tag our CIOGC accounts and use the hashtag. So all the accounts for Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook are on the screen. And just make sure that these posts attract your followers just so that you can gain as many votes as possible for your project. And if you need any help with this, please reach out to us at contest@ciogc.org. So in week 4, by August 1st, all masjids must submit their official video and budget submission. So the video should be 2 to 3 minutes long and filmed horizontally. And again, make this video exciting and creative since it will be used for voting. In addition to the video, you also have to send us a written breakdown of how you spent the $1,000 grant. So some examples for the official video can be a reality TV or a vlog style. You can even have some animation edits, or you can even make a TikTok. You can get as creative as you want with the final video, and just make sure it represents your masjid and your project well, since it will be used for the voting process. This is just a reminder that you can find the submission info on this presentation on our flyers and our website. So you always have this information available to you. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to us as well.
The final week, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, it's your turn.
Okay. The final week of the challenge will be deciding the winner of the CIOGC Social Justice Service Challenge. Your final video submission will be uploaded to the CIOGC website, and the Chicago community will vote for your masjid video submissions. The grand prize winner will be decided by CIOGC, and we will provide them with a $5,000 grand prize and the 2020 challenge winner trophy. The money you receive from the grand prize should be used to further expand on your social justice project that you started in this project here. Starting August 3rd, the public can log on to the CIOGC website to vote for their favorite projects. People can vote for as many times as they like, and we'll be sure to ensure fair competition. Further instructions on the voting process will become available as we get closer to the voting deadline.
So here's an overall timeline for all of the dates for which things are due. So this will be on the presentation, and we will email this presentation to you, so you'll always have this timeline. But the timeline are also available on our website and our flyers. So remember that we are here to help. If you don't have a social media presence, please email us, and then we'll help you to get that started. And just as a reminder to please use our hashtags on your social media posts and tag our accounts. And also, you can subscribe to our newsletter for more information about the challenge. And we've actually started a POV series, which is a point of view series, and it highlights Muslim youth and what they think about what's going on in the world, and just their opinions on certain topics. So that it's a really interesting series. So you can subscribe to our newsletter by going to our website, and you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom and you can enter your information. And also be on the lookout for live talks in the coming weeks from masjids and influencers on our Facebook and Instagram pages.
The deadline to register is 1 week from today, so remember to register as soon as possible. Simply click the registration link here below in the presentation and submit your proposal video to receive your $1,000 grant so you can begin your project. This presentation, again, will be sent out to everybody here so that you can reference it throughout your challenge.
And one of the things I just want to quickly remind everybody with this registration, everything that you submit will happen through the website. So week 1 submissions, once you get the initial grant and you're actually in the competition, we will, everything, like just like how you submitted the 30-second video, we'll remove the registration page and then put week 1 submission, week 2 submission. So everything will be on the website. So any submission you do will be through the website. And then the contest, like if you need help with ideas, it's not just for media, like if setting up a media presence, but it's also if you need help with ideas, if you have any questions. So the contest website, contest@caidc.org is a great place for you to email your questions and get some help.
Okay, now we'll begin the final Q&A session. If you have any questions, you can type it out in the chat, or you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you so you can ask your question. You can talk, Jamil.
Oh, I can. Okay, so I had a question. If my masjid is not a member of CIOGC, are we still allowed to participate?
Yes. This challenge is, we encourage you to collaborate with other masjids as well as any other interfaith organizations. The challenge isn't limited to youth groups. We encourage diversity in age and interest to apply, so long as the project idea is approved by a masjid in the Chicagoland area.
All right, cool. Thank you.
So someone is asking in the chat if they will receive the recorded presentation.
We will try to email you the recorded presentation. You will definitely get the slideshow presentation in an email, and we may be able to, we'll let you know, check in a couple of days, we might put it on our website, the recorded presentation. That might be an easy way for you to access it.
We're recording the presentation, so we should be able to upload it to our website.
Okay, we'll try to do that today.
And someone is also asking if this is an annual competition or is it just for this year?
We hope to grow it into an annual competition. It's going to morph, and what degree and how it's going to morph and how we're going to tweak it is going to depend year to year. And also it's going to depend on our grants and corporate sponsorships. So yes, we want bigger, better every year. We want to expand this to more bigger prizes, more just cooler ideas. And again, I think one of the ways we are, because we had gained such a interest from the MSAs and clubs and universities, that we are in serious conversations to expand this to the MSA groups and schools and younger youth groups. So again, I want to repeat, this is not limited to youth groups at a masjid. This can be anything. It can be your interfaith community. It can be your women's committee. It can be your media and technology committee. It can be anything. It's not limited to necessarily youth groups, this challenge.
We have one more question that asks, can one masjid submit 2 projects and get $1,000 for each project this summer?
No. So we had a long discussion. There were a few masjids that approached us. Just for the sake of fairness and level the playing field, we will, we ask that the masjids decide amongst themselves which project they want to put forward towards this grant for CIOGC. So CIOGC is not going to decide that. You'll have to work it out with your masjid as to how to do it. It's just in fairness, because then you get an undue advantage when it comes time to voting. Some masjids might have 2 or 3 versus one might have 1. So just to keep it, and we might change that down the line next year, the next time we do this. But for right now, 1 masjid, 1 project. But if you work with another masjid, not a community-based organization or interfaith organization, but another masjid, and they may not be aware of this, they will also get a $1,000 grant. So your budget grows in that regard.
Remember, you can raise your hand if you have a question, and we can unmute you like we did earlier in the call for other participants.
Yeah, or you can type in your question in the Q&A option.
I think what I have seen is a lot of people are are more concerned about the ideas, and we want to explain to you that it's really based on you and your community. Look at what social injustice you feel as a community you want to tackle. Different communities have different interests, and we've opened it up to whatever you feel that where you want to start. And it doesn't mean it has to end there. It just means this is your starting point. This is where you want to begin, and you can change and grow and expand that program in many different directions and tackle different injustices as time goes on. I think we should unmute people and see if there's any more questions, all of them.
So we have two more. So
okay, sorry.
The first one is the CIOGC grant, is this a CIOGC grant, or does it come from another source?
There's some private donors, but it's mainly a CIOGC grant.
And the second question is it okay if we have a masjid project in July that costs more than $1,000? If we get donations to cover the extra costs, is that okay? Or does the total cost need to be limited to $1,000?
So in order to keep the this like a level playing field, we'd like you to stay within the $1,000 limit. And even if you're doing something that's beyond that concept or that component cannot be used in your video or in your submission. So we want to just make sure that this is the $1,000 is your start, because it's, there's some resources that some masjids have that others don't have. So we want to make sure that this is a healthy, fun way for all masjids to compete and get started on doing something.
You have somebody raise their hand. You can talk now.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. So just to make this clear again, you're saying we can only use, like, it would be best only to use $1,000 toward the project, but what if your project is towards, raising community awareness for, homelessness or food insecurity, and then the point is to actually get donations to sponsor like a mobile food pantry or things like that. So how would that fit in with the $1,000?
I think in that sense, where if you're using like for advertising purposes, that's how I would label it in your budget, like to advertise to get more money. I think it would be okay. But we wouldn't consider that in sort of like, we wouldn't consider the $1,200 part of like, it would just be something that you did for the mobile grant, but we wouldn't be considering, we would use that as just like an overall idea that this is how you're going to expand the program.
Okay. So as long as it's okay, we can do that, because obviously the $1,000, we would need more than that to sponsor a lot of these food trucks.
We know that for $1,000 is just a kickstart for us, and hopefully, like I said, if we do, there have been people who have reached out, and hopefully we may be able to give out more prize money or also have a larger cash prize. So we're looking into those options because there has been an interest shown. We just need masjids to like participate and get involved and actually be a part of this challenge. We want to make sure that everybody registers, and it would just be a great impact. We've also had different organizations actually approach us, like a university has approached us. They want to follow how this goes. They're doing some sort of study. There's also news and media, press releases. They want to see what kind of impact CIOGC, not just CIOGC, but the community, the Muslim community has. So these are, we're kind of telling everyone, hey, let's wait and see once people register where this goes, because this is also our first time, but we see such a genuine interest, and we are loving the ideas that people are submitting towards this challenge. So we want to see more. We want to see you upscale it. We want to see you expand it. We want to see you enhance it. We want to see the entire Chicagoland community say, oh my God, we did something cool, but so did this masjid and so did that masjid. So that's part of the fun of you challenging another masjid, because it just helps build that, like, it creates that hype and that energy that, we're all competing to do good for our communities. Do we have another question?
So I think we touched on this already, but someone's asking, what if we use the $1,000 to raise more money for the effort?
Yeah, so as long as not the entire $1,000 is going towards that, we really want to see you implement something. It's not just, hey, we're using this money to get more money. We don't want that, but if you use a small portion of this money to raise more money to expand your program once the deadline for this project is over, we're completely okay with that.
Another question is, my masjid's leadership would like to delegate implementation to another member of the community. Is this okay?
Yes, of course. It is definitely okay. So as long as you get approval by, so the board, we know that the board and the masjid leadership is usually very busy just, battling what's going on now with the COVID-19 crisis and reopening masjids and stuff like that. So yes, as long as you get the approval by the leadership, it can be delegated to anybody who's interested in carrying on this project.
I think Amir raised his hand, so I'll allow him to talk. You can unmute and speak. I think you raised your hand. Maybe it was an accident. I'm not sure.
Yeah, actually, thank you for letting me talk, but that last question answered my question. So
okay. All right, sounds good.
Yeah, do you have anything more to add? We're okay, we have the time. We're doing pretty well on timing.
Okay, that's fine.
Another question is, what if it's an interfaith project or churches and synagogues that are contributing money? Then can the total cost be more than $1,000? Or if there are two masjids combined doing one project, then each of them gets $1,000 so they can spend $2,000 on the project?
So very easy question about the masjid, yes. So if it's a masjid and we've given you a $1,000 grant and another masjid a $1,000 grant, yes, you can combine and you have a $2,000 budget. We want to see collaboration. We want to see you connect with other masjids. We want to see you work with that. That's part of like the goal of this challenge, that we're not alone. There's a whole community that's behind. And the reason what we want to see is if this project rises and we get a good idea that there's community support behind, whether it's resources or money or volunteers and stuff like that, we might take that as a community project, not just like a ICW project, but more of a CIGC, or not even CIGC, as well as like a Chicagoland community project. If you're working with other like organizations that are community-based, interfaith, that's fine. That's up to you. That's up to you. You can do the work and it's fine. You can. We do want you to stay within the budget, but if they're willing to contribute to something, just give us a nice breakdown so we understand where it's going. That's all. Give us a breakdown of the funds. Anything else?
There's a question saying, how many organizations are we allowed to work with?
Wow, that's a cool question. There's no limit. We would love it if you collaborated with more than one organization. We would love that. And that's what we want to see. We want to see that kind of influence, that kind of collaboration, that kind of working together. And that's what we need to be doing. So yes, I love that question.
Okay.
I think we have somebody else raise their hand.
Yeah.
So one more thing, it could be an existing project that we already do, part of the social injustice, or does it have to be some new idea?
If you have started something, you're working on something, we don't want you to just put that money in something you're doing, but if you're using that $1,000 grant to expand or come up with another angle or another component of it, we would like that. We would appreciate that more. That's like when CIGC is looking at their criteria, they're looking at that creativity, that expansion, the collaboration with other masjids when we look for the grand prize winner. So yes, if you have started something and most masjids have, which is great in response to what's been going on with BLM, and you want to expand it in some way or add another component of it, there's no problem with that, no.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we have any more?
Nobody else has raised their hand yet.
Okay. I think we've covered most of it. Just as a quick reminder, please register soon as possible. You have a week from now on June 30th. That's our last day to register. We love that so many of you have shown up. I think at one point I saw like 29, 30 attendees. We love that so many of you are showing up. And then if all of your masjids would be a part of this, it would be fantastic for the Chicagoland Muslim community. For our own, like, the way we feel about each other and our growth and how we stand out as Muslims within the Chicagoland area. So that would be fantastic if you could register. And again, the 30-second video does not need a full-on explanation. It could be, hey, we're touching this general injustice and we plan to do X with it. So it doesn't need to be fully drawn out plan. So, and I know that once you commit, once you send that 30-second video in, I know human nature being what it is, then you'll flesh it out even further, put your team together, because then there's deadlines and dates to be met. So please don't hesitate in registering as soon as possible. And again,
If there's any final,
yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry. And again, CIGC is here to help. So email us at contest@cigc.org if you have any questions. We were here to help in any way with ideas, even with like setting up, like if you need help with a video, hey, maybe one of our interns can probably help you record something over Zoom if you need a submission video. We're here to help, and we want to make this happen because we believe in this. Very strongly. We believe in our community even more. And we see when we're having these conversations, we've talked to a number of masjids, and we feel like, alhamdulillah, when we talk to them, there's such positivity and so much that people want to do. We're just giving you the platform. That's it. And then we're going to celebrate you, inshallah, as soon as this, the grant gets started, or not the grant, but like the project or the competition gets started in July, we're going to start celebrating you on our social media and our newsletter. So different communities know like what everyone else is doing and they're able to share. If you guys want to close it off, I think we're good.
Yeah. Good. Thank you everyone for coming out. I think this went really well and we had a lot of turnout. So if you look in the chat, we have the email for any further questions you guys may have. So just email us there if you have any further questions or concerns, and we'll try to get this presentation and the recorded presentation out to you guys as soon as possible.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.